Thank you, officers, delegates, and special guests for inviting me to be part of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers 2020 convention. Thank you to Canadian Regional Director Craig Strudwick, my colleague and key member of our Canadian Executive Board. Thank you to the BAC Executive, President Tim Driscoll, Secretary Treasurer Bob Arnold, and Executive Vice Presidents Carlos Aquin and Jerry Sullivan for including me in your convention proceedings. I'm especially honored to be speaking to you today because my father, Brian Strickland, was a former Canadian Vice President for the BAC. He was a bricklayer. My grandfather was a bricklayer, and growing up, I spent summers working with bricklayers. I remember very distinctly working in southwestern Ontario with bricklayers from Germany, Italy, Portugal, and virtually from all over the world. It did not matter what language they spoke, they all knew how to yell at me for more mortar, more mortar. I remember those days fondly. I know how hard you work each and every day, and I appreciate what it takes to do what you do. The lessons that I learned on the job site forged my appreciation for the hard work that bricklayers and construction workers perform every day to provide for their families. It makes me proud to represent Canada's building trades unions and inspires me to work hard and deliver legislative changes that will improve our industry and the lives of our members. Since March of this year, our members, our industry, and our two great nations have been hit hard by an unprecedented crisis through COVID-19. From the onset, building trades members have been deemed essential workers, and many of our contractor partners have stepped up to work closely with us to ensure new health and safety protocols are followed and enforced. And I am proud to say, to date, we have not had any major outbreaks of COVID-19 on any Canadian job sites. We have increased communication to identify if and when a member has been hit by COVID-19 and have been lobbying the Canadian government on an ongoing basis for increased personal protective equipment, for improvements to the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit, the wage subsidy, and moving ahead, reforms to employment insurance to help our sisters and brothers who are out of work. Through our partnership with the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions, we've had local building trades councils and affiliates donating time and materials to ensure our frontline healthcare workers have the proper N95 masks that were in such short supply. We've had councils and contractors come together and produce and donate metal nose strips for the masks being made for volunteers. And while continuing to build this country and the infrastructure to keep Canadians moving, including our brothers and sisters from Local 7 in the Ottawa area, who were instrumental in the spectacular restoration of the Parliamentary District. The rehabilitation of the exterior masonry and sculpture elements, which were originally completed over 100 years ago, will ensure that Canada's Parliament buildings will stay standing strong for another 100 years or more. While this crisis has hit us hard, we have proven that the building trades does whatever it takes. And like the theme of your convention, we will come out of this crisis and continue building communities and building lives. While this convention may look different than years past, I know that through today's technology, you will still be able to engage in fruitful discussions that guide the course of the BAC over the next 5 years. I have been doing the same with Brother Strudwick and the rest of our Canadian Executive Board. The board has laid out 4 key strategic areas and pillars that will guide our work going forward: capital strategies, communications, workforce development, and government relations. I would like to touch on each of those right now. Canada's building trades unions are making progress, organizing our members' contributions to pension funds to not only secure retirements, but through our capital strategies program. We are working to ensure that these dollars support good jobs for active members through responsible contractor policies and investment portfolio agreements that reinvest our members' money in real estate and infrastructure assets that get our people back to work, building communities. We've taken note of the success in the US, and you can expect to see this program grow in Canada. Canada's building trades unions have been around, not as long as the Bricklayers, who are the oldest continuous union in North America, at 155 years young, but in Canada, we've been around for over a century. In that time, we've worked hard to coordinate the efforts of our affiliates to make our voice stronger, to make our workplaces safer, and to build better lives for all our members. We are renewing our efforts under the communications pillar to better tell the story of who we are, the work we do, and the campaigns we undertake on behalf of skilled trades workers. And we need your help to make that happen, to make sure the issues we're fighting for are communicated to each and every member. And we need to better communicate who we are and what we do to attract, train, and retain the safest, most highly skilled workforce. The BAC knows better than most how difficult it is to attract and retain new apprentices. Best estimates show in Canada that we will need several thousand additional skilled tradespeople over the next 10 years. To that end, Build Together, our workforce development program, is aimed at raising the awareness of the trades as a viable option to those traditionally left behind. The program originally started with a focus on women. Just over a year ago, it expanded to include new Canadians, youth, and Indigenous peoples. The program helps to identify barriers to these groups who have an interest in the trades, helps them overcome those barriers, and encourages them to choose a pathway to the trades. We currently have 7 provincial Build Together chapters across Canada, many of which, I'm pleased to say, have BAC sisters participating. The last pillar I want to touch on, our number one priority, is government relations. Canada's building trades unions has always been active on the ground in Ottawa, representing our members' issues to the Canadian government. At the outset of the pandemic, we outlined a new path forward for Canada coming out of the crisis that identified the need to focus on shovel-ready and shovel-worthy projects to help get Canadians back to work and create opportunities for apprentices, investing in critical infrastructure. Also, ensuring that those investments have a community benefit agreement attached to them and are used on all federally funded infrastructure projects to create a pathway to the trades for underrepresented groups. Also, to provide more supports for apprentices, including increased funding for the Union Training and Innovation Program. And finally, last but not least, always, always, always raising the bar on health and safety. Through our continued efforts, we will push the government to get these measures in place, and we will succeed and bring about a new deal for Canada, built on investments in infrastructure and training with a commitment to our health and safety and support for our communities. Because building communities, building lives, just makes sense. It's what we do on your behalf and on behalf of the 600,000 hardworking women and men that belong to Canada's building trades unions. Value on display every day. Thank you for your efforts, your commitment, and your support. Have a great convention, and I'm looking forward to seeing you live in person in 2025.